What is going on, guys? What is going on? I hope everyone is doing well. A few days ago, I was talking to one of my really good friends in Michigan. He's a PMO, one of my best friends. All right, me and him, we always have a good conversation. But he asked me, he said, Jerron, if the governing body leaders, if they change their policies and they pretty much instructed Jehovah's Witnesses, not instructed, but they said to Jehovah's Witnesses, hey, you guys can now contact your family members who left the cult. So my best friend was pretty much asking me if the governing body leaders change the policies, and if witnesses can now speak to someone like me, an apostate or an ex-member, would I speak to them? That's what my good friend asked me. He said, would I speak to my witness family if the governing body leaders gave them permission to do so? And I said, hell no, absolutely not. Hell no, I'm not doing that. You know why? Because as much as I love and miss my family, this is something that I just discovered, and I am a bit embarrassed to say this, but you guys know I'm an open book, right? I'm big on being honest. I recently discovered that I am somebody also. I'm a human being also. And obviously, I always knew that, right? Obviously, but I didn't know my self-worth until recently. And when you discover your self-worth, when you start to love yourself, you kind of forget about everyone else who doesn't see your worth. My entire life, I thought I was unlovable. My entire life. I thought I was never good enough, never fit in with the majority of people that I meet. And now I see why. I see that I just see things from a different perspective. I'm a deep thinker. A lot of people, they're not deep thinkers, right? But I am. I'm a deep thinker. I think about things that people normally don't think about. But sorry, I don't want to get off the subject here. But going back to what my really good friend asked me. He asked me, he said, will I speak to my family if the governing body leaders gave them permission to do so? Like I said, hell no, I won't. Hell no, I won't. Because my family, they failed to love me unconditionally. My mom, my two brothers, they were so quick to shun me, so quick to block me, so quick to ostracize me when I simply encouraged them to do their research, right? So if my family would have hit me up because the governing body leaders gave them permission to do so, you can kick rocks. My family, if they would have called me, if they would have called me saying that nonsense, oh, Jerron, we can now speak to you, the governing body leaders. Click. So you need permission from a group of men that are not even inspired by God to contact your own blood? I'm not playing that game. See, that's the game that witnesses play. I'm not playing that game. I know my worth. I know that the Jehovah's Witness religion they don't have the truth. It's not the truth. It's nothing but a man-made false organization. That's all it is. That's all it is. I see it for what it is. So why would I allow a group of men who are not even inspired by God to give my family permission to speak to me? Who are they? Who the hell are the governing body leaders? They're nobodies. They're just a bunch of men pretending. They're putting on an act. They're a bunch of men pretending to be holy. A bunch of men pretending to be spiritual. Keyword, pretending. So if my family would have hit me up on some, oh, Jerron, we can now speak to you. The governing body leader says so. I would say, have a nice life. Take care. Click. I'm not coming second rate. I'm not a rebound to nobody. I shouldn't have to speak to my family just because a group of men gave them permission to do so. Hell no. Hell no. I recently saw something. It was a quote. It said that your self-love has to be greater than the desire to be loved. Your self-love has to be greater than the desire to be loved. Now, we all want to be loved. Everybody on this planet wants to be loved. We all need community. We need friends. We need companionship. We need that, right? That's a necessity. But at the end of the day, you have to love yourself. That you have to love yourself more than the desire to be loved by others. And it took me a long while to really process that. Because for the longest, I want to say the vast majority of my life, I wanted to be loved by others. I wanted to be accepted by others. But now as a grown-ass adult, I now know my worth. So whoever doesn't see my worth, whoever doesn't see my value, and I know I'm a good person, I know I'm a good individual, but if people don't love me, accept me, cherish me, value me, then you know what? Have a nice life. See you later. Take care. And that includes my family. That includes my mom, my two brothers. If they don't see my worth, if they choose to put a false, fake ass, man-made organization over their own blood, that's the decision that they made, right? That's their right. That's their prerogative. However, that decision that they made 2.5 years ago, when my family decided to shun me 2.5 years ago, there's repercussions that come with that. One of the repercussions is that there's a possibility that they missed out on me for life, for the rest of their life. They missed out on one of the realest people that they ever met, which happens to be their blood. I say that because I care way more about being real than I do about fitting into a community or having a community. If my community encourages me to be fake, like the Jehovah's Witnesses do, you have to, in order to be a Jehovah's Witness, you have to be fake. There's no question about that. You can argue that all you want. At the end of the day, to be a Jehovah's Witness means you have to be a fake individual. And I say that because any doubts that you have, any questions that you have, you got to keep that shit in the back of your mind. You got to keep that to yourself. So if you got to keep sincere questions and doubts to yourself, that means you're being fake to yourself. You're not even being real to yourself. And you should be allowed to ask questions. You should allow to raise your hand at any kingdom hall, any congregation, to be like, you know what? This doesn't make sense. What we're reading in this article this is not making any sense. You should be able to say that, but you can't say that as a Jehovah's Witness. And I would never, ever, ever be fake. That's one thing about me. I would never be fake. I don't care if I lose my community. I don't care if I lose my friends. I don't care if I lose my family. Once you lose yourself, life is pointless. For me to be a Jehovah's Witness would mean I would have to lose myself. So what would I be living for if I was to lose myself? If I was to shake my head to every elder, to every watchtower I read, to every governing body leader giving a talk, if I just shook my head, if I was like, yes, sir, what good would that be? What life would I really be living if I was living for other people? Fuck that. Excuse my French. The hell with that. So going back to my good friend in Michigan, when he said that When he asked me, oh, Jerron, would you speak to your family again if the governing body leaders gave permission? Hell no. Hell no. My family made a decision to shun me over something that's fake, over a man-made organization that's fake. So let's say the governing body leaders were to liquidate all their assets, all their currency. They took all their currency and they went to a foreign country, a foreign land. There's no more JW.org. There's no more governing body leaders, right? If that were to happen and my family were to hit me up, oh, Jerron, you was right. The governing body leaders, they took all the currency, the assets, they left. There's no more JW.org. As much as I would want to say, I fucking told you so. I told you this was a fake organization. As much as I would want to say that, I'm not going to say that. Because time will tell. Time is going to tell that this organization is nothing but a man-made organization. Time is going to tell that I was right this whole time. In due time, my family, they may see it, they may not. Who knows? But in due time, people will see this organization for what it is, right? But just because that happens doesn't mean I got to take back certain people. Because all these people, all the Jehovah's Witnesses that I've known growing up, these people were blocking me, shunning me from left to right, just because I encouraged them to do their research, right? So when shit hits the fan and people start to see that this is not the organization, and don't get me wrong, I want Jehovah's Witnesses to wake up. I want them to, right? Now, it all depends. It all depends on how my family wakes up. I'm talking about in regards to me talking to them, right? In regards to me having a relationship with them. It all depends on how they wake up. Now, if they woke up like I did and they realized that, oh, you know what? Things are not adding up in this religion. Let me do my research. And if my family were to go that route and then woke up from doing their research, then yeah, I'll speak to them. But if they were to contact me talking about the governing body leaders gave us permission to speak to you, hell no. Hell no. I'm not speaking to them in that scenario. Hell no, because that tells me that they're still being ruled. They're still being controlled by this organization. If it's not authentic, if it's not real, if it's not genuine, we got nothing to talk about. So my family contacted me, telling me, I'm talking about in a hypothetical situation. If they were to contact me talking about the governing body leaders gave us permission, I don't want to hear that nonsense. I don't want to hear nothing about no governing body leaders giving you permission to speak to your own blood. I don't want to hear that nonsense. Like I said before, going back to that quote, your self-love has to be greater than the desire to be loved. Once you love yourself, once you know your worth, it's a game changer. And you look at people who don't know your worth, people who don't love you, people who choose to not cherish you, people who choose to not value you, you look at them completely different. You don't even think about those people anymore because you know who you are. And as much as I miss my family, I love my family, my brothers, my mom, I love them, I miss them. But you know what? I'm somebody too. I deserve to be loved too. I deserve to be missed too. I deserve to be valued too. I deserve to be cherished too. So when people don't love me, cherish me, value me, I'm like, kick rocks. And that includes my family. That's anybody. That applies to anybody and everybody. So me receiving a call from one of my family members talking about the governing body leaders gave us permission, I don't want to hear that nonsense. Because now I have people in my life who don't need the approval of the governing body leaders. I have people in my life who do love me unconditionally, who do value me, who do cherish me. So why the hell would I need my family who needs permission from uninspired men to speak to me when I have an abundance of people already who love me unconditionally, who care about me unconditionally? Even if the governing body leaders gave Jehovah's Witnesses permission to speak to ex-members and then apostates, even if that were to happen, I would stay far, far away from Jehovah's Witnesses. As long as their thoughts and their actions are being controlled by uninspired governing body leaders, we got nothing to speak about. We got nothing to talk about. I don't want people talking to me just because someone else gave them permission to speak to me. And that includes my family. I want people in my life who's going to be there for me no matter what. Through thick and thin, unconditionally. No matter what I believe in. That's how it should be. If it's not like that, see you later. Have a nice life. Take care. Take care. But yeah, when my friend hit me up, when he asked me that question, I was like, nah. Now, I know a lot of ex-members, they miss their family, they miss their parents, they miss their siblings. However, you gotta love yourself. You gotta know your worth. You gotta love yourself. The organization, they try to control us by taking away our families. That's why there's an abundance of PMOs in this organization. There's a bunch of people faking it. Because no one wants to lose their community. No one wants to lose their friends. No one wants to lose their family. I get that. I get that. But you got to remember, you're somebody too. Like I always say, this is the one, this is it. This is the one life that we have. This is it. There is no way in hell that I'm going to spend the one life that we have. I'm going to spend this life being fake. I'm going to spend this life going to the meetings. I'm going to spend this life going out in field service, knowing damn well that paradise ain't coming. I ain't doing that nonsense. I ain't doing that. But even if the governing body leaders gave permission, I'm still not. If they gave permission for Jehovah's Witnesses to speak to ex-members, hell no. Because at the end of the day, their actions is still being controlled by the organization. It's not authentic. It's not real. Your family, they're not contacting you because they want to. They're contacting you because the organization gave them permission to do so, which means it's not authentic. It's not real. Like I said, if it's not real, see you later. Now, the last 2.5 years, I've been doing a lot of soul searching. Especially this year, I've been doing a lot of soul searching, right? And I realized, I said, damn, I had to really process that my family, my JW friends, everyone I've ever known as a Jehovah's Witness, I had to really process that all that was fake. All the conversations I had with every Jehovah's Witness, all the times that I spent with them. And keep in mind, I've been a Jehovah's Witness in Australia and New Zealand and here in America. 3 different countries I was a Jehovah's Witness. All that time wasted. Like I said, all the times I hung out with witnesses, all the conversations I had with them, all that was for nothing. You guys know, about 2 years ago, an Australian sister who I met at a JW party or JW gathering a little over a decade ago, right? She hit me up talking about Jerron, you've been on my mind lately. I know we haven't spoken in years, but you've been on my mind. We had a real connection back in the day, and I wanted to reconnect with you. The minute I told her that I no longer want to be a witness, I don't believe in this organization, none of that, this girl blocked me like it was nothing. Just like my family, just like former other JW friends, right? People were blocking me and shunning me just because I told them, just because I encouraged them to do their research, and I told them this is not the truth. So, like I said, I've been doing a lot of soul searching lately, and I realized, I said, oh shit, everyone I ever met as a Jehovah's Witness, all those relationships were fake, phony and fake. I don't have time for any more superficial relationships, superficial friendships. I don't have time for that. Our time on this planet is short. I only want authentic, real connections going forward. That's it. If it's not real, if it's not authentic, see you later. And that includes my family. So even if the organization were to go a different route and it said, you know what, guys, you can talk to your ex-JW family. You can talk to apostates now. And my family called me, oh, Jerron, the governor body leader said, click. Fuck what the governing body leaders say. That's what I say. Fuck what they have to say. Your self-love has to be greater than the desire to be loved by others. It has to. Once you know your worth, it's a game changer. It really is. I'm making this video for PMOs too. You got to keep in mind, you're somebody. There's a lot of PMOs slaving for this organization. There's a lot of people, they're slaving for their family. They're going to the meetings knowing that this is fake. They're going out in service knowing that this is fake. They're doing all these things to keep their family. Meanwhile, their family would shun them in a New York minute. If the PMOs, if their family knew how they really felt about this organization, they would shun them for a false, fake-ass, man-made organization. So these PMOs, they're scared to lose their family. They're scared to lose their community. But you should be scared to lose yourself. Like I said, once you lose yourself, life is pointless. I love my family. I love my mom. I love my brothers. I want them to wake up just like I want every Jehovah's Witness on this planet to wake up, right? I want them to wake up. However, life goes on. There's a possibility that my family, they may not wake up. If they don't wake up, life goes on regardless. My life got to go on regardless. But I'm not going to sit around and wait and hope for them to wake up. Because, like I said, that might not even happen. And even if the governing body leaders gave permission for my family to reach out to me, I'm good on that. We got nothing to talk about. As long as my family is still devout, as long as it's still brainwashed, believing in that nonsense, that JW nonsense, we got nothing to talk about. Because I'm going to always keep it real. I'm going to always tell them, hey, what you believe in is not the truth. You're wasting your time. Paradise ain't coming. You're going out in service for nothing. You're going to the meetings for nothing. You're doing all this nonsense for nothing. That's what they're going to hear from me. If you want to talk to me, that's the conversation we're going to be having. I'm going to keep reminding you that your religion is full of shit. Your leaders are full of shit. Paradise ain't coming. All this is for nothing. That's the conversation we're going to be having. If my family were to wake, if they were to reach out to me, that is, because the governing body leaders gave them permission to reach out to me. That's the conversation we're going to be having. I'm still going to keep it real, no matter what. No matter what. But it's time for people to start knowing their worth. PMOs, even ex-members who who sincerely miss their family. It's time for us to know our worth. I'm nobody's rebound. I'm nobody's backup plan. None of that nonsense. If you don't love me unconditionally for who I am, if you don't accept me for who I am, we got nothing to talk about. We got nothing to talk about. Anyway, guys, I'm going to end this video. Love you guys. I'll see you on the next one.